You send a 3-word reply to your boss's email. Let me know. It feels polite, maybe even helpful. What you don't realize is you just documented your own insubordination, and HR already has the forwarded screenshot. But here's what actually happened in that email chain. Your boss wrote, "Please handle the Johnson account issues by Friday." And you responded, "Let me know." You meant, "Let me know if you need anything else." It felt collaborative, even eager to help. Your boss read it as, "Let me know what you want me to do," which translates to, "I'm not taking ownership of this problem." In corporate language, that's called pushing accountability upward, and it's a documented performance issue. Sarah Chen learned this the hard way at a Fortune 500 tech company in March 2026. Her manager sent an urgent request about a client deliverable. Sarah replied, "Let me know your thoughts," thinking she was being respectful and collaborative. 3 weeks later, during her performance review, that exact email appeared on screen. The manager explained that Sarah consistently failed to take initiative and required excessive direction. The email was Exhibit A. The psychological trigger here is called learned helplessness documentation. When you use phrases that defer decision-making, you're literally creating evidence that you can't function independently. HR systems now flag these patterns automatically. They're looking for employees who generate management overhead. Companies are cutting 23% more middle management positions in 2026 than last year. They can't afford people who need constant guidance. Every "let me know" email adds another data point to your high-maintenance file. But there's an even more dangerous phrase that 89% of workers use weekly, and it's actually worse than asking for direction. "Thanks for the heads up" might sound even more innocent, but this phrase triggers what corporate psychologists call acknowledgement without commitment. You're telling your boss you received information, but you're not confirming any action. That's a legal nightmare waiting to happen. Marcus Rodriguez found out exactly how dangerous this phrase is when his startup got acquired by Microsoft in January 2026. His new director sent an email about updating client contracts to include new AI liability clauses. Marcus replied, "Thanks for the heads up," and moved on with his day. 2 months later, a client sued over an AI-generated error that should have been covered under the new clauses. During the legal deposition, Microsoft's lawyers pulled up Marcus's email. The company argued he had been notified of the policy change and acknowledged it, making him personally liable for the oversight. Marcus thought he was being polite. The legal team saw documented proof of negligent compliance with direct orders. Here's the trap. "Thanks for the heads up" creates what lawyers call informed non-compliance. You've proven you received and understood the instruction, but you deliberately chose not to act. That's actually worse than missing the email entirely, because ignorance is a defense. Willful negligence isn't. Internal Slack messages from 3 major corporations show managers now screenshot these responses and store them in dedicated liability documentation channels. They're not collecting evidence to protect you. They're building cases to isolate company risk by pushing blame downward. The third phrase is the most toxic because it sounds like leadership material, but it actually flags you as someone who creates problems rather than solving them. "I'll circle back on this" sounds professional, like something VPs say in meetings. Wrong. This phrase marks you as someone who makes empty promises, and companies now track your circle back completion rates. Jennifer Walsh thought she was buying herself strategic thinking time when she told her director, "I'll circle back on the budget projections," during a Zoom call in February 2026. She genuinely planned to follow up within 48 hours, but her company's new AI meeting analysis software flagged it as an indefinite commitment, corporate speak for a promise with no deadline. The system tracked when Jennifer took 4 days to respond, logging it as a commitment breach. After 3 instances in 2 months, her manager got an automated report. 67% failure rate on verbal commitments. She wasn't just behind on work, she was statistically unreliable. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Major corporations are using natural language processing to scan meeting transcripts and emails for accountability markers. Circle back phrases get flagged because they sound like action items but contain zero specificity. The AI interprets this as either incompetence or intentional evasion. Circle back sounds professional but creates vague expectations. When you don't follow through on the listener's timeline, you've documented your unreliability. Just say, "I don't know," or give a specific deadline instead. Amazon's internal data shows employees who use circle back language are 34% more likely to receive communication clarity coaching within 6 months. Just checking in feels like good project management, but you're actually training your colleagues to see you as a micromanager who doesn't trust their work. And in 2026's remote-first workplace, that perception is a career killer. David Kim learned this when he got promoted to team lead at a digital marketing agency in San Francisco last December. Excited about his first management role, he sent "just checking in" messages to his 3 direct reports every Tuesday and Friday. He thought he was being supportive and staying connected with his remote team. Within 6 weeks, 2 team members had requested transfers to different departments. The third filed a complaint with HR about excessive surveillance and lack of autonomy. During David's 90-day review, his manager showed him anonymous feedback from his team. "David doesn't trust us to do our jobs," and "he treats us like children who need constant monitoring." Here's the psychological trigger. Checking in implies people aren't working unless you're watching. In remote work environments, this phrase activates what workplace psychologists call surveillance anxiety. Your team starts hiding normal work fluctuations because they assume you're looking for reasons to criticize them. LinkedIn's 2026 Workplace Culture Report shows that 78% of employees would rather have a boss who ignores them completely than one who checks in more than twice per week. The phrase has become so toxic that some companies now include excessive check-ins as grounds for management coaching. But here's what's even worse. Every checking in message creates a paper trail that proves you don't believe your team can work independently. "I wasn't aware of that" seems like an honest response when your boss mentions a policy or deadline you missed. But you just created what legal departments call plausible deniability documentation, and that makes you the perfect scapegoat when something goes wrong. Rachel Thompson discovered this trap when her retail chain started requiring new safety protocols in March 2026. Her district manager mentioned the changes during a brief hallway conversation, and Rachel honestly replied, "I wasn't aware of that," because she'd been managing 3 stores and genuinely missed the memo. She implemented the changes immediately and thought nothing of it. 4 months later, a customer injury lawsuit targeted the company. Rachel's store had the best safety record in the district, but corporate lawyers threw her under the bus anyway. They pulled security footage of that hallway conversation, where Rachel clearly stated she wasn't aware of safety requirements. The company argued they couldn't be liable because their district manager had personally informed Rachel, who admitted she wasn't following protocol. Here's the corporate chess move. When you say, "I wasn't aware," you're confirming that awareness was your responsibility. You're not claiming the information was withheld or poorly communicated. You're accepting blame for your own ignorance. Legal teams love this phrase because it makes employees liable for information gaps instead of management communication failures. Internal memos from 2 major insurance companies show they specifically train managers to document "wasn't aware" responses. When lawsuits happen, they can prove individual employees knew they were uninformed, but continued working anyway. You become the liability, not the company's communication system. The phrase that's even more dangerous appears in 94% of termination paperwork, and most people say it trying to be helpful. Subscribe for more career traps nobody talks about, and this next video reveals the exit interview traps nobody talks about.